Straight up honest reactions. I am Mountainsmith reading Genesis 50. I have never read the Bible, so this is a first time as always. I feel like Genesis continues to keep going. We're in Genesis 50. It's like never nonstop. I do not skip ahead, so anyone that is interested in seeing someone like me read the Bible for the first time, this is probably a good place to be and see where things are. So I just read Genesis 48 and 49. I'm going into Genesis 50 here. Jacob he actually did die in Genesis 49 after giving this poetic speech and what seems like a prophecy to his sons, and then also said, these are the 12 tribes of Israel. So it seems very significant there, but also that he blessed Joseph's two sons by crossing his arms in a different way. I'm really curious why he did that and what that means. So, Genesis 50, here we go. Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Man, what about the other sons? But it makes sense, I mean, because Joseph was separated from them for so long, and Joseph has done so much for them. Okay, so starting this over, Genesis 50. Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body. So Jacob was embalmed. The embalming process took the usual 40 days, and the Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days. Wow, that's great. So the Egyptians also mourned Jacob's death. So in 40 days, the usual 40 days. The embalming process took the usual 40 days. Why are they saying that it took the usual 40 days? Is that a normal thing? Because we have not been told about that at all. Is that an Egyptian process that always happens? And they mourned his death for 70 days. Okay. So when the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisors and said, "Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, 'Listen, I'm about to die. Take my body back to the land of Canaan and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father. After his burial, I will return without delay.'" Okay, so interesting. I'm wondering why Joseph then went to Pharaoh's advisors, because he's been ruling Egypt essentially right underneath the Pharaoh. So why not just go to the Pharaoh himself? It's an interesting question there. Let's go on. Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. "Go and bury your... We are about to end. It goes into the next one. Wow, this has been a long one. Okay, so let me back up here. Wow. I wonder if they're all 50 chapters. I wonder if each book is 50 chapters, because this one was 50. Okay, sorry, I'm getting away from the story here. Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request. "Go and bury your father as he made you promise," he said. So Joseph went up to bury his father. He was accompanied by all the Pharaoh's officials, all the senior members of Pharaoh's household, and all the senior officers of Egypt. Wow. Joseph also took his entire household and his brothers and their households, but they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. A great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. It'd be a grand funeral for sure. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad near the Jordan River, the Jordan River, that's a real reference point here. I don't know if I've read about that here in the Bible yet, but that's a specific reference point. Okay. When they arrived at the threshing floor of Atad near the Jordan River, they held a very great and solemn memorial service with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. The local residents, the Canaanites, watched them mourning at the threshing floor of Atad. Then they renamed the place, which is near the Jordan. It's a weird way to write that. Abel Mizraim, for they said, "This is a place of deep mourning for these Egyptians." So Jacob's sons did as he had commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephron the Hittite. I'm actually very curious where this cave is in modern times. Uh, Maybe somebody can actually tell me. I'm very curious because it seems if this is the book of Genesis and where Abraham is buried and now Jacob, as well as the wives, it seems like it would be a historical landmark somewhere. I'm very curious. Joseph reassures his brothers. After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had accompanied him to his father's burial. But now that their father was dead, Joseph's brothers became fearful. Why are they going to become fearful? Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did to him, they said. Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense because, Joseph was a slave, but he kind of accepted it himself too, right? He did accept it himself that maybe this was all God's plan to ensure that the famine, uh, to ensure that people got through the famine, that everyone was okay, that all of his brothers and his father Jacob had a place to go during that famine. So his brothers seem to be fearful about something. Maybe they're right. So they sent this message to Joseph. Before your father died, he instructed us to say to you, please forgive your brothers for the great wrong they did to you, for their sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of the God of your father, beg you to forgive our sin. When Joseph received the message, he broke down and wept. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. Look, we are your slaves, they said. But Joseph replied, don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? Oh, sorry, let me say that again. But Joseph replied, don't be afraid of me. Am I God that I can punish you? You intend to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. See, just what I was saying. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to take care of you and your children. So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. That's exactly what I expected of Joseph. Very interesting here. This is why I wonder, like, are we rooting for Joseph or are we not? Because of what he has done to help the Pharaoh become rich and control the Egyptian people. But also, maybe those people were meant to be sacrificed in a certain way. Man, this is quite a story here. Anyways, the death of Joseph. Oh, now we got the death of Joseph. Really, we just had the death of his father Jacob, and now we've got the death of Joseph. I guess it makes sense that we are at the end of Genesis here. So Joseph and his brothers and their families continued to live in Egypt. Joseph lived to the age of 110. He lived to see 3 generations of descendants of his son Ephraim, and he lived to see the birth of the children of Manasseh, son Machir, whom he claimed as his own. Okay, Machir. Soon I will. Now, wait. Before I jump on there, Manasseh. I can't say his name. He was the older one, if I'm correct. Machir is now the son of him, okay, whom he claimed. Soon I will die, Joseph told his brothers. But God will surely come to help you and lead you out of this land of Egypt. He will bring you back to the land he solemnly promised to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph made his sons of Israel swear on an oath, and he said, when God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you. So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Wow, that seems pretty amazing. So, wait. I want to back up here, though, real quick here. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath, and he said, when God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you. So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Wow. I wonder where that's potentially going to go, because if his sons are supposed to take his bones, but the Egyptians embalmed him and put him in a coffin, you don't want to unbury, or you don't want You don't want to raid a coffin, especially after the Egyptians have embalmed him. Ah, that's something to think about here.